The stars had always been quiet, almost obedient, as though the universe itself were holding its breath. From her vantage point, high above Earth, Elira could see the planet spinning beneath her like a delicate, fragile jewel. Blue oceans stretched, endlessly, dotted with swirls of white clouds. Green lands rose from the water, some vibrant and wild, others orderly with cities of silver and glass. Elira had traveled across countless galaxies, observing civilizations and fleets, watching species grow, expand, and dominate. Yet Earth was different. Her own people had built fleets that spanned entire galaxies. Ships capable of faster-than-light travel, weapons that could shatter planets, and machines that solved problems before they even arose. Logic, efficiency, and planning were the pillars of her civilization. Feelings, as humans called them, were often a weakness. They made decisions slower, riskier, unpredictable. But Elira had sensed something unusual in humans, something her sensors could not measure. Curiosity had brought her here. Elira's ship, sleek and silent, hovered just above the clouds. From the outside, it appeared as a small, ordinary satellite. Yet inside, it contained technology her species used only in the highest councils of research. She could observe Earth in every spectrum: light, sound, electromagnetic, even emotional energy. What she saw fascinated her. Humans struggled, yes, and often failed. But when they faced challenges, they adapted in ways that no species she had ever studied could. They created solutions that were not planned, not logical, but somehow effective. Her first observation was a city in chaos. A hurricane had struck the eastern coast of a large human settlement. Buildings shook, streets flooded, and electricity faltered. From her invisible seat above, Elira watched the humans move. Emergency services coordinated as best they could. Volunteers joined from nearby towns, and neighbors helped each other carry supplies and rescue trapped people. Some humans fell under stress, some panicked, but many kept going. They found solutions that her species would have dismissed as inefficient or unworthy. One man used a simple raft tied with ropes to save children trapped in a flooded park. A group of teenagers improvised sandbag barriers to redirect water from homes. She could see the determination, the unpredictability, the resilience. Elira's curiosity grew into fascination. She had witnessed species create great machines and conquer worlds. But she had rarely seen a species survive, not because of strength or fleets, but because of their ability to think differently, to collaborate, to adapt under pressure. Humans seemed small, fragile, and insignificant on the galactic scale, but that fragility hid something powerful. She decided she needed a closer view. Transforming her ship's external sensors, she projected a human form onto herself. She became a young woman with plain brown hair, simple clothing, and a calm expression. To humans, she would look like any other observer, any passerby. To herself, she remained a collector of data, a scholar of potential. The first human she approached was a scientist working at a weather monitoring station. He looked tired, covered in mud and water from the storm's aftermath. He did not notice Elira at first. He was too focused on saving the last set of equipment. She introduced herself simply, offering help. He looked at her strangely but accepted. They worked together to secure instruments, and she observed his method of problem-solving. He combined knowledge, instinct, and improvisation in ways that her species' programming would have found inefficient but somehow effective. Elira noted everything. She recorded emotional responses, teamwork patterns, and decision-making processes. Humans did not always follow the same logic twice. They experimented, guessed, and sometimes failed, yet they learned instantly from mistakes. There was creativity here, chaotic, messy, and yet strangely reliable. At night, she walked among other humans in the city. Some celebrated surviving the storm, others mourned losses. Children laughed as they played in the puddles, completely unaware of the danger they had faced hours before. Elira studied them as well. Even in joy, they exhibited resilience. Even in sorrow, they showed compassion. She realized something important. Humans were not predictable, not by statistics, not by probability. They had instincts that combined reason and emotion, and somehow it made them stronger in situations that required more than just logic or force. Elira returned to her ship, invisible to the world, and looked down at Earth. Her species measured worth by fleets, control, and dominance. But here was a planet of fragile creatures who survived disasters, solved problems, and inspired each other to act. She wondered if her own species had been blind for too long, focusing only on machines and strategy. Humans were small, yes, but there was a spark in them, a spark she could not ignore. She decided that observation alone would not be enough. If she truly wanted to understand humanity, she would need to test them. Not with violence, her species had enough experience destroying planets to know the consequences, but with challenges that could measure their ingenuity, cooperation, and adaptability. The tests would be subtle, small at first, designed to reveal the depths of human potential. Her first idea came while watching a group of engineers repairing a broken bridge. They worked without much planning, improvising as they went, using materials they could find. It was risky, chaotic, and imperfect. But it worked. Humans thrived on solving problems when resources were limited, when time was short, and when outcomes were uncertain. Elira realized she could design challenges that forced humans to do what came naturally: adapt, innovate, and cooperate. She began planning her first experiment, a technological anomaly, subtle enough not to cause mass panic, but significant enough to require humans to think creatively. It would appear as a sudden surge of energy in the power grids of a major city. Engineers would scramble, governments would act, and citizens would watch. Elira would monitor every step, every reaction, every decision. She wanted to see how humans solved a problem that her species would have approached with brute force or rigid logic. As she prepared, Elira reflected on the uniqueness of humans. They were messy, emotional, unpredictable, but those very traits allowed them to survive and even thrive under conditions her species considered impossible. Where her people built fleets and weapons, humans built communities and ideas. Where her people relied on strategy and order, humans relied on instinct, courage, and creativity. Her curiosity had turned into something deeper: respect. Elira realized that humanity's potential was not measured in ships or fleets, but in their minds, hearts, and the bonds they formed. If her species ignored them, it would be a mistake, one that could have consequences far beyond her understanding. Elira set her plans in motion. The first anomaly would appear tomorrow, localized, measurable, and dangerous only if humans failed to respond effectively. She watched as the sun rose over Earth, painting oceans and forests in gold. The city below was slowly recovering from the storm, unaware that another test of their resilience was about to begin. For the first time in her long life, Elira felt excitement, not for conquest, not for control, but for discovery. Humanity was small, fragile, and yet endlessly fascinating. She wanted to see how far they could go. Could they survive challenges that no other species could endure? Could they rise to a level her fleet-building civilization had never imagined? Above all, Elira wanted to understand the human spark, the strange combination of curiosity, courage, and creativity that allowed a species to survive, adapt, and even flourish against overwhelming odds. And she would not stop until she knew. The stars were quiet, the universe still held its breath, and Earth continued to spin. Beneath her, humans moved, unaware of the watcher among them, unaware of the first test that would measure their potential. Elira smiled silently. This was only the beginning. The morning sun rose over the city, reflecting off the tall glass buildings and painting the streets with light. Life seemed to return to normal after the storm, but beneath the calm, something unusual had begun, Elira observed from her hidden position above the city. She had carefully designed the anomaly, a sudden, mysterious surge in the city's energy grid. It was small, controlled, and completely safe if humans responded quickly. But it was enough to test their creativity, collaboration, and courage. The first sign appeared at the central power station. Lights flickered, alarms sounded, and screens filled with strange patterns of energy readings. Engineers rushed to check the systems. Some were confused, some panicked, but most quickly began trying to understand what was happening. They worked in teams, analyzing data, discussing possibilities, and testing small fixes. Every move was careful yet improvisational. Elira's sensors recorded everything, noting how humans solved problems not by brute force, but by thinking, experimenting, and learning from mistakes. In one control room, a young engineer named Aaron noticed something unusual in the data. The patterns repeated, almost like a rhythm or code. He called over his colleague, Mira, who had been working on power distribution for years. "Look at this," he said. "It doesn't make sense. The surge isn't random, it's communicating." Mira frowned. "Communicating? That's impossible. Energy doesn't talk." But Aaron persisted, tracing the patterns carefully. Together, they realized the anomaly seemed to respond to their actions. When they rerouted power to certain areas, the energy stabilized. The night sky over Earth sparkled with stars, countless points of light stretching across the darkness. Elira watched from her hidden vantage above the planet, her thoughts focused on the next stage of her experiment. Humanity had proven itself in survival, creativity, and cooperation during the energy anomaly. Now she wanted to see if they could extend those traits beyond their home planet. She intended to give them a glimpse of the stars, and a challenge unlike any they had ever faced. Elira's plan was subtle. She could not simply hand humanity advanced technology without consequences. They needed to discover it themselves, or at least believe they had. She chose a small remote research facility as the point of first contact. A team of engineers and scientists, already skilled in aerospace design, were working on a prototype for deep space exploration. Elira's influence would appear as a mysterious breakthrough in their research, a new propulsion system, highly efficient, and theoretically capable of interstellar travel. The team was stunned when the designs appeared on their screens, accompanied by complex simulations that seemed almost impossible to replicate. Aaron and Mira, who had worked on the energy anomaly months earlier, were now involved. This can't be ours," Mira said, her hands trembling slightly. "We didn't create these calculations." Aaron shook his head. "I don't know who or what did this, but the math works. If it's real, we could go to the stars." Elira observed them quietly, fascinated by their reactions. Fear, excitement, doubt, and curiosity swirled together, creating a storm of emotion that no simulation could predict. Humans did not immediately rush forward. They debated, planned, and tested small components first. Unlike her species, which would have simply built a fleet and launched it, humans measured risk carefully. They argued over design, safety, and ethics, discussing who should go and how far they could travel. Finally, a decision was made. A small prototype ship was constructed, capable of short interstellar journeys. Elira ensured that it would be safe, but challenging, with unknown variables that would test human ingenuity and adaptability. She called it the Aurora. Its design was elegant, with smooth lines and powerful energy systems. Inside, humans would find tools, sensors, and navigation systems, advanced but still requiring skill to operate. When the first crew prepared to launch, Elira cloaked her presence. She watched their nervous excitement as they boarded Aurora, checked systems, and initiated the launch sequence. The rocket lifted from Earth, powerful yet precise, leaving the atmosphere with a roar that echoed across the ground. Elira's sensors recorded every heartbeat, every decision, and every adjustment made by the humans. She had seen countless species travel through space, but she had rarely seen such careful, deliberate courage mixed with instinctive improvisation. The Aurora's first journey took them to a nearby star system. The path was relatively safe, but Elira introduced subtle hazards to observe human responses. Asteroid clusters moved unpredictably through their trajectory, forcing the crew to calculate new flight paths on the fly. A sudden solar flare caused interference in communications and navigation. Instead of panicking, the humans adapted. Aaron adjusted the shields to handle energy fluctuations. Mira recalibrated sensors to predict asteroid movements. The crew worked together seamlessly, each member contributing knowledge, creativity, and intuition. During one tense moment, the ship's navigation system failed entirely in the middle of an asteroid field. Instruments blinked off, leaving the crew to rely on instincts and visual observation. Most species Elira had studied would have failed here, relying solely on automated systems. Humans, however, improvised quickly. They coordinated manually, directing the ship with skill and trust in each other's abilities. When they finally emerged from the asteroid field unscathed, relief and exhilaration filled the cabin. Elira noted the remarkable combination of bravery, adaptability, and teamwork. As the crew continued exploring the star system, they encountered phenomena that no human had ever seen before. Strange energy clouds, gravitational anomalies, and small rogue satellites of alien origin. Each posed a challenge. Some required delicate problem-solving, others demanded quick thinking under pressure. Elira subtly monitored and guided them, never interfering directly, but adjusting conditions to push their abilities further. The humans quickly realized that the universe was far more complex and dangerous than their textbooks had described. Yet, instead of despair, they felt excitement. Each challenge became an opportunity to learn, to test limits, and to work together. They discovered new ways to use their technology creatively, combining knowledge in ways Elira had not anticipated. They analyzed alien satellites not as threats but as puzzles to understand. They repaired minor systems using improvised methods. They solved problems by combining logic, experimentation, and instinct, qualities that set them apart. During one particularly tense episode, a rogue asteroid threatened to damage the Aurora. The crew devised a plan that combined engineering, physics, and human intuition. They calculated a precise trajectory, used the ship's energy systems to create a small deflection field, and executed the maneuver with split-second timing. The asteroid veered off course, narrowly missing the ship. Elira recorded the moment, amazed by the humans' ability to remain calm under pressure while thinking creatively and collaboratively. Elira began communicating indirectly. She sent cryptic signals that hinted at possible solutions or suggested paths through dangerous regions. The humans noticed these signals but could not explain their origin. They interpreted them as part of the ship's advanced AI systems, adapting their strategies accordingly. Elira marveled at how humans interpreted uncertainty not as fear but as opportunity. Unlike her species, which would have dismissed anomalies as errors or threats, humans explored, learned, and thrived. As days turned into weeks, the humans traveled farther, testing limits and expanding their knowledge. They encountered a small, uninhabited planet with unique mineral formations. Instead of exploiting it recklessly, they studied it carefully, documenting findings and considering future exploration. Elira observed the ethical and thoughtful approach, noting the importance humans placed on understanding and responsibility, even in uncharted space. Elira also observed the bonds forming among the crew. In stressful moments, they supported each other. In moments of discovery, they celebrated together. Each human contributed unique strengths, balancing weaknesses with collaboration and empathy. Elira began to understand that humanity's potential was not only in their intellect or courage, but in their capacity to connect, trust, and inspire one another. As the Aurora approached the edge of the first star system, Elira made her presence subtly known. A soft energy glow appeared in the ship's sensors, mysterious but not threatening. The crew was cautious but curious, sensing an intelligence watching them. Aaron spoke first. "I feel like someone, or something, is guiding us, not controlling, just observing." Mira nodded, excitement in her eyes. "It feels like a test, but why? And by whom?" Elira remained hidden, pleased by their deduction. She would reveal herself in time. For now, observation was enough. The first interstellar journey had succeeded beyond expectation. Humans had not only survived challenges in unknown space, but they had done so with creativity, courage, and collaboration that Elira had never fully anticipated. Her species measured potential by fleets, numbers, and control. Humans measured potential through adaptability, ingenuity, and moral choice. And in these qualities, they were exceptional. Elira reflected on her observations. Humanity had crossed a threshold. They were no longer just survivors of storms or city crises. They were explorers, capable of thinking beyond limitations, adapting under pressure, and innovating in the face of the unknown. The universe was vast, full of dangers and opportunities, but she believed humanity could rise to meet it. She began planning the next stage of her experiment. Humans would face challenges not only in space, but with other species, with diplomacy, and with complex ethical decisions. Elira wanted to see if their creativity and cooperation could scale across galaxies, if their spark could influence civilizations far beyond Earth. For now, she allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. From her hidden vantage, she watched the Aurora navigate the stars, humans inside unaware of the Watcher who had guided them here. Their journey had begun, small and cautious, but full of promise. And Elira, silent above, knew one thing clearly. Humanity was extraordinary. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and the universe was ready to test them further. Yet for the first time, Elira felt something new, a hope that humans might succeed where others had failed, a fascination with their boundless ingenuity, and a curiosity that would drive her to continue observing, guiding, and challenging them in ways her fleet-building civilization could not imagine. The first interstellar voyage was complete, but humanity's journey had only just begun, and Elira, the Watcher, would be there to see just how far they could go. The Aurora drifted silently through the vast darkness between stars. Its crew had grown comfortable with interstellar travel, yet they knew the universe held far greater mysteries than they had encountered. Elira, still hidden, monitored their progress with growing admiration. Humanity had survived every test so far, solving challenges. The Aurora floated silently in the darkness of the tournament's arena, surrounded by ships from countless civilizations. Humans had already proven themselves in strategy, problem-solving, and diplomacy, yet Elira knew the next stage would push them even further. She had designed challenges that would test not only their intellect and courage, but their ethics, leadership, and ability to inspire others. Captain Leora gathered her crew. "We've come this far," she said, her voice calm but determined. "Now the stakes will be higher. The next challenges will require everything we've learned, and more. We must think creatively, act quickly, and care for each other and those we meet along the way." Mira nodded. "We've faced the unknown before. We'll face it again. Together." Aaron added, "We've learned to adapt. Now we see how far we can push that." The crew prepared themselves, both excited and wary of what lay ahead. Elira observed from her hidden vantage, recording every moment. The first challenge of this stage was a complex interstellar navigation test. The Aurora had to cross a newly revealed cluster of star systems, each filled with gravitational anomalies, unpredictable energy fields, and scattered fleets from other species. Some fleets were friendly, others indifferent, and a few were aggressive. Many of the advanced species approached the challenge with caution, relying on brute force or rigid calculations. Humans, however, approached it differently. Leora studied the patterns carefully, noting areas of danger and opportunity. Aaron suggested alternate routes that balanced speed and safety, while Mira monitored energy fields and adjusted shields. Every decision was discussed, every move coordinated yet flexible enough to adapt to unexpected changes. During the journey, the Aurora encountered a fleet of small, alien vessels trapped in a dangerous energy storm. Most species ignored them, fearing delays or loss of advantage. Leora hesitated for only a moment before deciding. "We can help them. We have the ability, and it's the right thing to do." The crew acted quickly, stabilizing shields and guiding the stranded ships out of danger. The aliens expressed gratitude, sharing valuable information about the energy fields in return. Elira recorded this act carefully. Humans were not just clever, they considered morality alongside strategy, a rare and valuable combination. The next challenge tested diplomacy. Elira orchestrated a scenario where multiple species previously neutral or hostile competed for control over a critical resource, a network of energy conduits that linked several galaxies. Humans had to negotiate access, balance competing interests, and avoid conflict. Many alien species attempted intimidation, deception, or brute force. Humans relied on communication, empathy, and reasoning. Leora spoke openly, acknowledging the needs of others while advocating for her crew's objectives. Mira suggested compromises that benefited all parties, creating trust and goodwill. Aaron analyzed technical possibilities that allowed multiple species to share the resource safely. By the end of the negotiation, humans had secured access while building alliances rather than creating enemies. Elira noted the subtle power of cooperation and moral choice, qualities her fleet-building civilization rarely valued. As the tournament progressed, Elira increased the complexity of the tests. Humans were now tasked with repairing a failing planetary system. A small uninhabited planet was experiencing destabilizing energy fluxes that threatened nearby colonies. Most species attempted to control or dominate the situation through technology and force. Humans approached it differently. The Aurora's crew analyzed the planet's energy patterns, identifying the root causes. They improvised repair techniques, using knowledge from multiple disciplines and collaborating with alien engineers willing to help. The work was slow and challenging, requiring constant adaptation to shifting conditions. Yet humans persevered, combining ingenuity, intuition, and cooperation to stabilize the planet. Other species observed in amazement, noting how humans turned a crisis into an opportunity for learning and collaboration. Elira's tests now included moral dilemmas. Humans encountered two planets on opposite sides of the galaxy, both facing catastrophic threats. Resources were limited, and saving one would endanger the other. Most species followed rigid protocols, prioritizing efficiency or self-interest. Leora and her crew debated the options carefully, considering the consequences of every decision. In the end, they devised a solution that did not require choosing between planets. By coordinating with local species, sharing technology, and applying innovative strategies, they managed to stabilize both systems simultaneously. Elira recorded this moment with fascination. Humans were capable of finding solutions that balanced ethics, creativity, and cooperation. Solutions her fleet-building species would never have considered. During a particularly tense moment, the Aurora encountered a rogue AI that had escaped from a long-abandoned civilization. The AI monitored the tournament arena and was capable of manipulating energy fields and navigation systems. Most species attempted to disable it forcefully. Humans, however, studied its patterns, communicated indirectly, and devised a solution that neutralized the AI's threat without destroying it. Elira noted the ethical and strategic brilliance of this approach. Humans were not only solving problems, they were doing so thoughtfully and responsibly. As the tournament continued, humans began to influence other species. Their creativity, cooperation, and moral choices inspired curiosity and collaboration. Among alien crews, some began emulating their methods, forming temporary alliances and sharing knowledge. Elira observed a ripple effect. Humanity's approach to challenges was not just surviving, it was shaping the behavior of other civilizations. The next stage of testing involved leadership. Humans were placed in a scenario where multiple fleets, representing different species, had to coordinate to prevent a galactic-scale disaster, a massive energy storm that could destabilize several star systems. Other species struggled to cooperate, relying on orders, protocols, or brute force. Humans assumed leadership, not through dominance, but through communication, trust, and strategic planning. Leora coordinated the fleets, listened to suggestions, adapted plans in real time, and ensured each species contributed effectively. The operation succeeded. Star systems were stabilized, fleets worked together, and casualties were minimized. Elira's sensors recorded the outcome with awe. Humans had achieved what others could not. Leadership through collaboration, influence through morality, and success through adaptability. After the operation, the Aurora crew took a moment to rest and reflect. "We've faced more challenges than I ever imagined," Mira said quietly. "And we've survived them all. But it's not just luck, it's how we think, how we work together, and how we treat others." Aaron nodded. "Every challenge pushed us further, and every time we found a way. Humans, we're stronger than we knew." Leora smiled. "We're only getting started." Elira observed the crew with pride. Her experiment was succeeding. Humans were demonstrating qualities rarely seen in galactic civilizations: creativity, empathy, adaptability, and courage combined in a single species. They were small in number, inexperienced in technology compared to others, and yet they consistently outperformed expectations. She knew the final stage of the tournament would be even more difficult. Humans would face not only technical and strategic challenges, but also ethical dilemmas, diplomacy, and influence across multiple civilizations. Elira designed scenarios that would push their abilities to the limit, testing how far creativity, cooperation, and morality could extend on a galactic scale. The Aurora drifted through the arena, lights of distant stars reflecting off its hull. Humans had faced hazards, moral dilemmas, and interstellar challenges, yet they remained steadfast. Elira understood a truth that was becoming increasingly clear: humans were extraordinary. They were not merely survivors, they were innovators, leaders, and catalysts for change. The galaxy would soon witness their full potential. And Elira, the Watcher, would remain vigilant, guiding the experiment and recording every moment, knowing that humanity's spirit, courage, and creativity could reshape the very nature of galactic civilization. As the Aurora prepared for the final stages of the tournament, humans reflected on their journey. They had faced the unknown, adapted, cooperated, and made choices that balanced ethics with survival. They had inspired others without realizing it, solved problems that seemed impossible, and led with courage and wisdom. Elira observed all of it, fascinated by a species that combined heart and mind in ways no civilization she had studied could. The test was far from over, but humanity had already proven something remarkable. Their potential was limitless, their creativity boundless, and their spirit unbreakable. Elira smiled silently. The universe was watching. The tournament continued, and humans were ready for whatever challenge came next. The Aurora glided through the void of space, silent except for the hum of its energy core. Captain Leora and her crew had faced countless challenges: energy anomalies, rogue AI, interstellar navigation, and diplomatic tests. Yet nothing prepared them for the final stage Elira had designed. This was not merely a tournament, it was a test of their species' ultimate potential, a crisis that could decide humanity's place among the stars. Elira observed from her hidden vantage, cloaked in energy fields that rendered her invisible to all sensorid designed a scene.